As a dealer, I'm going to rely more on my own abilities to ascertain the mechanical condition of the car from the test drive. If you're a consumer, you're going to spend more time researching the history of the car, and you're going to get an independent mechanical inspection. So on our test drive, what we're looking for is anything out of the ordinary. Any odd noises, any unusual vibrations. Let's start with the steering. The steering should have no pull to either side, especially under braking. That would be a giveaway that the alignment's off. There should be no vibrations in the steering wheel. That's a giveaway that the tires are out of balance. An important thing to check will be the brakes. When I apply the brakes firmly, there should be nothing but a smooth stop. If there's any vibrations or juddering, that's an indication that the rotors are warped. Next, I'm going to pay attention to the powertrain. I'm going to accelerate as hard as the car will accelerate, so foot to the floor. What I'm looking for is shifts that are not smooth if it's an automatic transmission. I'm also listening for any vibrations or harshness in the engine that shouldn't be there. If the car has an automatic, I want to make sure the shifts are fast and smooth. If the car has a manual gearbox, I'm going to want to shift the manual quickly. I want to feel if there's any graunchiness or any grinding as I go between the gears, which would tell us that the synchro mesh is getting worn. I'm also going to want to make sure that the clutch take-up is proper and that it doesn't happen just off the floor, but that it happens somewhere near the proper end of travel so we know we don't have a worn clutch. So now that we've determined that the powertrain feels good and that the brakes feel strong and that there's no juddering or other signs of warpage in the brakes, we're going to go ahead and run it through a couple corners and see how the car appears to handle. We want to make sure the steering is linear. There's no unusual amounts of kickback through it, and that is shocks coming through the steering wheel that shouldn't be. That's another indication of worn componentry. Especially on older cars, you'll get bushings in the front suspension that'll make clunks or noises as you go around corners. In this case, there aren't any. With an older front or all-wheel drive car, here's a final test I'm going to do. It looks crazy from the outside, but it's important because we want to make sure the constant velocity and universal joints in the front suspension are properly lubricated and are not binding up. What I'm going to do is find a large parking lot. I'm going to bring the car to a halt and apply full steering lock. So I'm going to bring the steering as tight as it can go, and then I'm going to accelerate briskly and listen for any clicking noises. I'm going to do this in both directions. If there's any clicking noises when I do it, that's going to tell me there's a problem up there that needs to be addressed. So a great time to check how well the air conditioning and climate control work is on my test drive. First, I want to make sure the fan motor has no funny noises at its different settings. If I was getting any rattling or anything that maybe sounds like there's a gerbil under the dash, that's a good indication that a fan motor or a flap motor is not working properly. And while this may seem minor, if you have to get in there to work on those systems, you often end up tearing the entire dash apart, which can cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000. If it's winter and I need to check the air conditioner, I'm going to cycle the air conditioning compressor on and off. Typically there'll be a button you push for it, like here. When I do so, I will hear the air conditioning compressor kick on, and I will often see the tachometer drop momentarily as the extra load is absorbed by the engine. If all the air conditioner needs is a recharge, that's about $100. But if the compressor is malfunctioning or something else in the system, it could be a $1,000 repair. So it's essential to make sure that system is working properly. So I'm back from my test drive. The final area I need to ascertain is the car's interior. I'm going to break it down into 3 sections. The cosmetics, things like the carpets and the seats. Next, I'm going to go over all the electronics in the car. You've got to try everything that's got a motor. That is, the wipers, the washers. Testing the power windows is particularly important because power window regulator failures are very, very common. The power locks, the power seats if it has them, the heated seats if the car has them, the CD player, the DVD player. Pretty much anything that could break, you want to make sure it works. And finally, I want to check this car out for any residual smoke smell. Some smoke smells are obvious, but if I have any doubts, this is where I check. And I need to make sure that the car has its books, keys, and remotes. Programming a modern remote and key costs up to $300. So now we're done with our test drive. We've finished our cosmetic appraisal of the interior, and we've checked the car for bodywork. We've also had the car mechanically inspected. For more on how to save time, money, and hassle, read the Car Buying Tips Guide and watch our other videos available at the carbuyingtipsguide.com website.